Public, private and global enterprises. Indian economy is a mixed economy as it consists of both privately owned and government-owned business enterprises. The economy, therefore, may be classified into two sectors, private sector and public sector. Private sector. The private sector enterprises are the business owned, managed and controlled by individuals or a group of individuals. Their main objective is to earn profit. The enterprises are called private because they are fully owned by private individuals and there is no interference from any state government or central government from the point of view of ownership. The various forms of organization in the private sector are sole proprietorship, partnership, joint Hindu farming business, cooperative societies, joint stock companies, multinational corporations. Features of private sector. The main features of the private sector are as under. 1. Profit motive. 2. Private ownership. 3. Profit as evidence of success. 4. Private management. 5. Less political intervention. Forms of private enterprises, business organizations in the private sector can be divided into two parts from legal point of view. 1. Incorporated and 2. Non-incorporated. Business organizations falling in the category of incorporated have got to be registered under laws connected with different types of business, and it is only through these laws that their activities are controlled. On the contrary, non-incorporated business organizations can be stated without any registration, which means that there is no need to seek permission under any law to start them. Forms of private sector. 1. Sole proprietorship. 2. Joint Hindu family business. 3. Partnership. 4. Joint venture. 5. Joint stock company, private public. 6. Cooperative enterprises. Sole proprietorship. The sole proprietorship is the oldest and the simplest form of business organization. No formality needs to be performed for this kind of business. There is only one owner of such a business. He invests capital, manages it, bears risks, and has the sole responsibility of profit and loss. There is only one owner of such a business. He invests capital, manages it, bears risks, and has the sole responsibility of profit and loss. Joint Hindu family business. When a business enterprise is run by the people belonging to the same family and they run the business as a family business, it is called joint Hindu family business. In such a form of business, the authority of control is in the hands of carts or the manager of the family. The other members of the family work under the control and guidance of Karta. Partnership. Under partnership, minimum 2 and maximum 50 persons run some business on the basis of a contract and share its profits and loss. The partnership business is established either to expand the sole proprietorship business by its proprietor by taking other people with him, or it is established by 2 or more than 2 people with a view to starting a new business. Joint venture. Under this form of business organization, 2 or more than people, there is no maximum limit of number, jointly run some particular business temporarily and all the co-ventures divide the profit or loss according to the predetermined ratio. With the completion of a particular work, the agreement for joint venture ends automatically and consequently the liability of the partners of the joint venture also ends. This business is generally established for the consignment of goods. For underwriting he shares or debentures and the construction of buildings, roads, bridges, canals, etc. Joint stock company. This form of ownership is adopted for a business where more capital is required and where risk is comparatively greater. This business organization falls under the category of incorporated business. It is established under the Companies Act, 2013. Joint stock company, created by law, is in the form of an artificial individual whose existence is different from its members. It has a common seal which gives information about its separate existence. The liability of its member is limited and it is run by the board of directors, representative of selected by shareholders. Joint stock company is of two types. 1. Private company. 2. Public company. The basis of difference between both the types of companies are 1. Transfer of shares. 2. Number of members. 3. Inviting public for issuing shares debentures. 4. Inviting public for issuing public deposits. 5. Minimum amount of paid-up capital. Cooperative enterprises. Cooperative enterprises or cooperative society are in the form of voluntary associations which come into existence with the purpose of serving their members. Like other business organizations, their purpose is not to earn profit but to serve their members. They are established by needy people of a particular class, who are economically weak, to meet their general needs collectively and with mutual cooperation. Cooperative enterprises are registered under the Cooperative Societies Act, 1912, and there is more of government control as compared to other forms in the private sector. Public sector, private enterprises. The public sector enterprises are the business owned, managed, and controlled by the government. In other words, public sector includes those business organizations which are of public interest and which are controlled and run by the government. These enterprises may either be partly or wholly owned by the central or state government. They may also be a part of the ministry or may have come into existence by a special act of the Parliament. Public sector enterprises undertakings, PSE-PSU, are formed by the government to participate in the economic activities of the country. These enterprises are established with the purpose of earning reasonable profit while serving the society. The form of organization which a public enterprise may take are departmental undertakings, statutory corporations, government companies. For better understanding, public or government enterprises means those enterprises which are established by the government and whose ownership and management are also in the hands of the government. These enterprises are either entirely owned by the government or their maximum ownership lies with it. These are known by the name of state enterprises, public enterprises, public sector undertaking, government undertakings. Their aim is to provide goods and services at reasonable price to the people. The chief aim is the service of the people. All the government concerns are not government enterprises, e.g. government hospitals, government colleges, etc. are not government enterprises. Hence, only those government concerns are called public enterprises which undertake economic or business activities. Features of public enterprises. 1. State ownership. 2. State control. 3. Financial freedom. 4. Service motive. 5. Public accountability. 6. Bureaucracy, industrial relations. 7. Useful for all the sectors. 8. Monopoly in few sectors. Forms of public enterprises. The forms of organization which a public enterprise may take are 1. Departmental undertakings. 2. Statutory corporations. Government companies. I. Departmental undertakings. This is the most popular form of managing the public enterprises. These enterprises are necessarily fully owned and controlled by the government, central, state or local, and their management and control are with the ministry concerned. The Secretary of the Department is its Chief Executive Officer who works under the guidance and control of the ministry. Every year its budget is prepared and government approval is obtained. A report regarding the activities of these enterprises is prepared and sent to the Parliament State Assembly. The minister concerned with the departmental organization is accountable for the success or failure of the department. The form of the departmental organization of public enterprise is established as public utility services. In India, the chief enterprises established in the form of departmental enterprise are example. 1. The Indian Post and Telegraph Department. 2. The Indian Railways. Features of departmental undertakings. 1. Formation. 2. Ownership. 3. Management. 4. Financing. 5. Appointments. 6. No separate existence. 7. Accountability. Suitability and examples. The departmental undertakings form of organization of a public sector enterprise is most suitable under the following circumstances. 1. For business activities of vital importance for the country such as atomic energy project, defense, telecommunications, etc. where utmost secrecy is required. 2. For economic controls example, public distribution system. 3. For the operation of public utilities example, post and telegraphs, telephones, broadcasting, etc. 4. For contribution to government revenues example, Indian Railways. Merits of departmental undertakings. 1. Easy formation. 2. Effective control. 3. Increase in government income. 4. Helpful for Parliament. 5. Easy financing. 6. Proper utilization of funds. Limitations of departmental undertakings. 1. Lack of flexibility. 2. Lack of prompt action. 3. Conservative approach. 4. Red tapeism. 5. More political interference. 6. Lack of adequate services. Statutory public corporation. Public corporations fall in the category of incorporated enterprises which are established under a special act of the Parliament or state legislature which provides for its management and methods of running them. Their powers and privileges are determined and their relations with the government department are specified. Public corporations have separate legal existence, which means that they can purchase assets in their name, have contracts with other parties, can sue and be sued. Their entire capital is provided by the government, central government, state government, or jointly, which means that these corporations are fully owned by the government but they have the right to get loan from the public. The enterprises of departmental organization, the income and expenditure of the organizations are not shown in the budget. Example: Life Insurance Corporation of India, Reserve Bank of India, Employees State Insurance Corporation, Food Corporation of India, Oil and Natural Gas Commission. Suitability: Statutory corporation, public corporation. Statutory corporation is suitable for organizing public enterprise when 1. The enterprise requires a huge amount of capital investment. 2. The enterprise has to be run on business lines. The public interest must be kept in view by the enterprise. Public welfare is the top priority. Examples of statutory corporation: Air India, Indian Airlines, Life Insurance Corporation of India, LIC, Industrial Development Bank of India, Unit Trust of India, etc. Features of Statutory Corporation. Public Corporation. 1. Formation. They are established by a special act of the Parliament or State Assembly. 2. Ownership. The corporations are completely under the ownership of the state. 3. Separate legal entity. They have a separate legal entity. A statutory corporation is a body corporate and can sue and be sued, enter into contract and acquire property in its own name. 4. Financing. It has an independent financial structure. It prepares its own budget and has authority to retain its earning and utilize them for its. 5. Appointments. Members of the Board of Directors are nominated by the government. Employees of these enterprises are not government or civil servants and are not government by government, rules and regulations. It is relatively free from political, parliamentary and departmental interference. Merits of public corporations. 1. Autonomy in operation. There is no interference of the government in the functioning of the public corporations. They frame their own policies and procedures within the powers assigned to them by the Act. 2. Financial freedom. The funds of these organizations do not come from the central budget. The government generally does not interfere in their financial matters, including their income and receipt. 3. Self-made policies and procedures. Statutory corporations have autonomous status. They frame their own policies and procedures within the powers assigned to them by the Act. 4. Instrument for economic development. These are the valuable instruments for economic development. It has the power of the government combined with the initiative of private sector. 5. Social service motive. The main and the secondary aim of the corporations are social service and profit respectively. No profit or very limited profit is taken for the services provided by the corporation. Limitations of public corporations. 1. Incomplete operational autonomy. In reality, a statutory corporation does not enjoy much operational flexibility. All actions are subject to many rules and regulations. 2. Government and political interference. Government and political interference has always been there in major decisions or where huge funds are involved. 3. Entry of corrupt practices. Generally, where there is dealing with public, rampant corruption takes place. 4. Delays actions. The government has a practice of appointing advisors to the corporation board. This practice checks the freedom of the corporation in entering contracts. Government company. A government company means a company which has a minimum of 51% of the paid-up share capital in the name of the central government or state government or partially the central government and one or more state government. The government becomes a major shareholder in the enterprise and makes use of all the rights of a shareholder through the medium of the ministry concerned or the cabinet or the head of the state. If the local government or the corporations acquire 51% or more of the capital, the enterprise concerned cannot be treated as a government company. They are registered under the Indian Companies Act, 2013. The following are the examples of government company. Hindustan Machine Tools, National Fertilizers Limited, Coal India Limited, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. Suitability. Government companies is most suitable for organizing a public sector enterprise under the following circumstances. 1. When the enterprise has to be run on business lines. 2. When the enterprise has to compete with other companies in the private sector. 3. When financial and technical subscriptions from private and foreign enterprise are required. Features of government companies. 1. Formation. The companies of private sector. These are formed according to the provisions of Indian Companies Act, 2013. 2. Ownership. Minimum 51% of their paid-up share capital is in the name of the central government or state government or partially central government and one or more state government. 3. Separate legal entity. They have a separate legal entity. It means they can purchase property in their own name, can have control with other parties, can sue and be sued. 4. Management. They are managed by a board of directors. The management of the company is regulated by the provisions of the Companies Act like any other public limited company. 5. Appointment. The appointment in these companies are made according to their own service conditions contained in the Memorandum and Articles of Association. The employees of a departmental undertakings, their employees are not government employees. 6. Exempted from audit rules and procedures. A government companies is exempted from the accounting and audit rules and procedures. An auditor is appointed by the central government and the annual report is to be presented in the Parliament or the state legislature. Merits of government companies. 1. Easy formation. 2. Separate legal entity. 3. Autonomy in operation. 4. Check on unhealthy practices. Government companies provide goods and services at reasonable prices. A government company can be easily established under the Indian Companies Act, 1956. A separate act in the Parliament is not required. 2. It has a separate legal entity apart from the government. Merits of government companies. 3. It enjoys maximum autonomy in all management decisions and actions. There is no undue departmental interference in the working of a government company. That is why the government company form of organization is preferred to other types of organizations in public sector. 4. Government companies curb unhealthy limitations of government companies. 1. Ignorance of Companies Act. The government is the only shareholder in some of the companies. The provisions of the Company Act do not have much relevance. 2. Lack of accountability. It evades constitutional responsibilities, which a company financed by the government should have. It is not answerable directly to the Parliament. Limitations of government companies. 1. Since the government is the only major shareholder, the provisions of the Companies Act does not have much relevance. 2. It is not directly accountable to the Parliament. 3. Since the government is the only major shareholder, the main purpose of a government company, registered like other companies, is defeated. Changing role of public sector enterprises. Since independence, the public sector has been playing a vital role in the economic development of the country. Public sector is considered to be a powerful engine of economic development and an important instrument of self-reliance. The role of public sector in India before 1991 can be explained as follows. 1. Development of infrastructure. 2. Regional balance. 3. Generation of employment. 4. Check over concentration of economic power. 1. Development of infrastructure. The development of infrastructure, example, transport, communication, irrigation, power, etc., is a prerequisite for industrialization in any country. It was only the government which made huge capital investments to develop infrastructure facilities because such projects demand long gestation period and relatively lesser return on investment. Rail, road. To regional balance. The government is responsible for developing all regions and states in a balanced way and removing regional disparities. Most of the industrial progress was limited to a few areas like the port towns in the pre-independence period. After 1951, public enterprises were set up in backward areas so that balanced regional development is possible. Major steel plants were set up in the backward areas, Rourkela, Durgapur and Bhilai. 3. Generation of employment. By generating large-scale employment opportunities, public sector enterprises contribute to the equitable distribution of income and wealth. 4. Check over concentration of economic power. The public sector followed the policy of takeover of many private industrial enterprises to prevent monopolies and concentration of 5. Defense requirements. Investment in the public sector was essential to ensure a continuous supply of goods and services needed for defense forces of the country. 6. Public utilities. Since the private sector was motivated with earning profits, the government provided the public utility services like water supply, electricity, gas. Changing role of public sector in India. Despite their impressive role, public sector enterprises, PSEs, in India suffered several problems and shortcomings. 1. Poor project planning. 2. Excessive overhead. 3. Overstaffing. 4. Underutilization of production capacity. 5. Lack of proper pricing policy. 6. Inefficient management. 7. Low. The consequence was that many of the public sector undertakings, PSUs, have become a burden rather than being an asset to government. The most striking example is the takeover of sick units from the private sector. In the light of above experiences, the Government of India had introduced 4 major reforms in the public sector in its new industrial policy in 1991. The main elements of the government policy are as follows. Restructure and revive potentially viable PSUs. Close down PSUs, which cannot be revived. Bring down government's equity in all non-strategic PSUs to 26% or lower, if necessary. Government's new industrial policy, 1991 towards the public sector. 1. Reduction in the number of industries reserved for the public sector from 17 to 8, and then to 3. 2. Strengthening enterprises through Memorandum of Understanding, MoU. 3. Disinvestment of shares of non-strategic public sector enterprises. 1. Reduction in the number of industries reserved for the public sector from 17 to 8, and then to 3. Till 1991, 17 industries were reserved for the public sector. In 1991, the number of industries reserved for public sector was reduced to 8, which was further reduced to only 3 industries in 2001. These are atomic energy, arms and rail transport. This meant that the private sector could enter all areas, except the 3. To strengthening enterprises through Memorandum of Understanding, MoU. Government took steps to improve performance of those PSUs, which fall in the category of high-priority areas or were generating reasonable profit through a system of Memorandum of Understanding by which managements were to be granted greater autonomy but held accountable for achieving specific disinvestment of shares of non-strategic public sector enterprises. Disinvestment involves the sale of the equity shares to the private sector and the public, i.e., reducing equity of the government. The primary objectives of privatizing PSEs or disinvestment are releasing the large amount of public resources blocked up in non-strategic public sector enterprises, PSEs, so that they may be utilized on other social priority areas such as basic health, family welfare and primary education. reducing the huge amount of public debt and interest burden, improving managerial performance, and ensuring financial discipline. 4. Policy regarding chronically sick units. All public sector units were referred to the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction (BIFR) to decide whether a sick unit was to be restructured or closed down. There are many enterprises which are chronically sick and not capable of being revived as they have accumulated huge losses. The only option available to the government in such cases is to close down these undertakings. To protect the interests of employees and workers of such undertakings, a National Renewal Fund (NRF) was set up in February 1992 to retrain or redeploy